Here in this room, we're going to have the Emerging Groups to Watch award winners conversation. And then the other breakout over in the Venezia room, which again is kind of diagonal through the exhibit hallway there. And that breakout is financial tools, and it's subtitled Technology Investment Analysis to Maximize Your Dollars. If you're interested in that, go over to the Venezia room. Bill, come on up, if you would. Bill Neumann, come on up.
Welcome to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down.
Can you bring him up?
All right, thanks everybody for sticking around. I know we're pretty much the only thing that stands between you and some drinks, so we will make this worthwhile. And yeah, great awards ceremony. Kim, thank you for thanking me, so I don't have to thank me, as Viren does so well. But that was great. I really appreciate you bringing your teams up, and it was a lot of fun. So we already actually had a discussion, pretty much everybody here. Dr. Mann wasn't there, but everybody else, we had a panel discussion virtually about, 2 months ago. So we're going to probably cover some of those same topics that we did, and then some new ones as well. But the whole goal is that you in the audience maybe can learn a little bit from some of the trials and tribulations that the Emerging Groups to Watch winners have had. For the maybe one person that wasn't in here for the awards, if you'll just stand up and leave. No, actually, maybe just run through who you are in the group real quickly, just in case there happens to be somebody that wasn't here. Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. Max, specialty surgery management.
Smile Obsession.
Providence Dental Partners.
Mike Baird, Accelerate Dental.
Brad Hughes, Vision Dental Partners.
Excellent. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through some questions here. And a lot of these questions, like I mentioned, we did a webinar about 2 months ago, came from the registrants. And so we were able to just get a lot of really, I think, impactful questions. A lot of times we assume what everybody wants to know. And this time we didn't do that. So we asked the audience, people like you, what they wanted to learn from emerging dental groups to watch. I think one of the biggest challenges in the industry, it seems like it was, started with COVID, although I think it probably was pre-COVID, is challenges with talent. So maybe each one of you can kind of fire off the top challenges you have with talent right now, and then the part two is, how are you overcoming those? What are some strategies there? Why don't we start with Brad all the way at the end, and we can kind of work our way over.
The problem with talent, yeah, it's not good. That's a joke, by the way. It's hard to find. So we're heavy into content. So I think the last 3 people we've hired in the last 2 weeks were through different social media platforms, either through my own content or Vision Dental Partners content or Jason and HR's content or Lex, our marketing director. So we are very heavy in content, and that's attracting people to the company. So we're just heavy into brand building in that way.
Can you talk a little bit about the team that you have to actually deliver the content? Because unless you're not on LinkedIn, you probably have seen Brad and the content that his team creates. But there is a team doing this.
Correct. Yeah. So at the practice level, we have a content manager. We have 3 editors. For my own content, I've got a video editor and a video producer, Spencer, who's around here, right there. So we create a ton of content, but it attracts like-minded people to us. And the recruiting becomes pretty easy at that point.
Excellent. And not just clinicians, but office staff?
It's hygienists, assistants, front office. Craig, whether this is good or bad, we've hired Craig Villarreal in business development, strictly because we had built a relationship for about 1 year on LinkedIn. I mean, it's for me, it's not about just putting out the highest price. It's not about just who's got the best benefits. It's you know, especially as finding hygienists and good assistants, just finding talent. When I say like it's hard to find, it is hard to find good talent. Like maybe it's not a joke. Like it is really hard to find good talent. But when we're attracting like-minded talent to us, it's game-changing.
And where do you seem to find the best traction? Is it LinkedIn? Does the platform matter as far as hygienists? Maybe you're more on Instagram, or what does that look like?
LinkedIn, TikTok.
Okay. Mike, how about you?
Hygiene. Everyone knows that there's only 2 for every 3 slots out there, especially in rural areas. That ends up being a big challenge for us. We have a full-time recruiter, which really helps. She's amazing. We've invested a lot in culture. We recently won Best Place to Work award. And what we find is we can just get a candidate to talk to 2 or 3 other people. They sell themselves, right? You want to create an environment that's really good. And that's the same story at Accelerate as a entity helping run our practices as it is in the practice level. So if we struggle in a practice to hire, we encourage them, we got to work on our culture. We got to have a mission statement and a vision, and what are your cultural values, and how are you reinforcing with the team? People want to work in places where they're going to be happy and find like-minded people. We find them in different places. We do a lot on LinkedIn. We use various dental, like the Utah Dental Association here in Utah we use. We've even found good luck going out, when we're recruiting an office manager, we'll actually do a note out to that office patient base and see if there are people that know the office and would like to work there. So it's being creative about the sites, but I think as long as you're persistent and you create a company that people want to come to, it helps mitigate the challenges.
Great. Dr. Mann?
No, I couldn't agree more. The biggest struggle for us, around that is, I guess post-COVID, just trying to get people to show up for interviews, and just seeing the value of the practice and the value of what you can instill into them. The other area that we really found some success is really finding people outside of dentistry, or even that have very little talent in dentistry but have a passion within it, and that's outside of licensed clinicians or any individuals like that. But just trying to find someone that really wants to serve people, really wants to be able to create that relationship, and whether it's a sterile tech or assistant, chairside assistant, putting them through training and giving them the opportunity and just seeing them grow. And some of the areas that we really like to look at as well inside the office in order to self-promote is seeing what that ceiling may be for them and seeing if there's another opportunity to move them laterally within an organization. Maybe they're tapped out chairside and they're looking to retire. How can we reinvigorate them into another role? Because it's so hard to find talent, and once you find it, how can you self-promote? How can you encourage? How can you put them in a position to grow not only for themselves, but also for a career within your organization?
Dr. Patel was on earlier the DSO diagnosis, and I know you talked about challenges with hygienists. So any other areas?
Yeah, I'm giving up on them, giving up on talent, giving up on people. So what we're doing, it is true. We're doubling down on tech. So we don't have front desk staff in our offices, so I've eliminated all those people. We already have the talent, right? The talent's myself and Jackie. That's all I need, because technology could solve all the other problems that we face. And then in terms of hygiene, I have given up on them. What we're doing is dental assistants. I used to own a dental assisting school. They're really easy to recruit in the Chicagoland market. So we're overpaying them, right, more than the average assistant. That creates retention, and they're in charge of, one extra job, and that's collecting the copay in the operatory from the patient. The other thing we're having dental assistants do by paying them a little bit more within the legal realm of things is, they're replacing hygienists in our company. So they bring the patient in, they take the x-rays, they take the intraoral pictures, and they're told to spend 45 minutes just BSing, talking double flossing the teeth, double polishing the teeth, because patients really don't know a good cleaning from a bad cleaning, but they know a good cleaning experience from a bad cleaning experience. So we've trained our doctors to go in during the exam for the recalls and say, hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to use the Cavitron. I'm going to quickly, break up the plaque and tartar. So, Samantha here, she's going to, polish her teeth twice. She's going to floss her teeth twice. She's going to give you a couple rinses of the magic solution, aka watered down Listerine. And it's working really well for us. So we've been able to retain assistants that way, and we've been able to not have this stress of having hygienists. And we've eliminated front desk staff, so there's my solution.
Excellent. So Mark's group is oral surgery focused, so you can talk about any unique challenges you might have in the oral surgery market, whether it's clinicians or staff.
Yep, sure. At Max Surgical Specialty Management, we haven't given up on talent or on people. In fact, we're doubling down on people. And we're spending our time on mentorship, building mentorship programs, leadership programs to reinvigorate the folks that we have, to inspire them to want to grow and to develop. And it seems to be working pretty well. Our turnover rates are pretty low compared to industry standards, and performance has been pretty good. But we have the same talent acquisition challenges as well. So we've centralized recruitment using all the same platforms that folks have talked about here to try to bring in talented folks, but it is hard.
Well, this is a little off script here, but I think this seems to be something that I hear a lot is education and mentorship is like huge needs, requests from younger clinicians, what clinicians are looking for when they're joining an organization. And I think a lot of groups don't necessarily have that. So it's like, hey, I joined a group and I'm not getting my CE the same way I did before I joined the group, right? I'm not really getting necessarily the mentorship or the education that I once did. So what does that exactly look like? What is your mentorship and your educational platform or opportunities?
One of the speakers said it earlier today, that folks need to have a purpose. I don't remember which session it was, but especially young people today, they need to have a purpose. They need to feel like their work is fulfilling, like they have an opportunity to learn and grow. And I loved one of your other speakers said that they're trying to, with new tech implementation, trying to get folks excited. You have the opportunity to learn new technologies and to progress. So that is the focus, and that's how we're thinking about things as we teach and as we educate. Learning management systems where we can put education online, focus on career advancement, development, any way folks want to take their careers. And we do that not only for team members, but also for surgeons as well. Formalized mentorship program, both in terms of clinical skills, but then also we have a quote unquote buddy system, folks who are similar to them, and they have a buddy that they're assigned who maybe walked in their shoes a few years earlier to help them to understand what's about to happen, how to think about things. So it's building a support network that folks can appreciate and leverage.
Anybody else want to talk about their educational or mentorship programs that they have, some strategies there?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in CE courses and educating our clinicians and our dentists. So I do hire a lot of younger new grads, and what I do is I teach them the business side of things. They're part of the revenue cycle process in our company. So I put them through a week or two of what I call finance training or root camp or business training. I could teach a dentist, dentists eventually will learn how to do a good filling and a good crown, but if you don't give them a foundation on how to understand the revenue cycle process and insurance benefits, they'll never succeed and they're just not going to grow in terms of their financial compensation. So we put them through 2 weeks of training on the business side. We have them rotate amongst our other dental offices, especially with the doctors that are higher producers, to see how they're closing more cases, because we don't have patient care coordinators, office managers, treatment plan coordinators. Our dentists present the treatment plans, talk about the money, and close the cases. So So we do that with them. And in terms of CE, we do 3 or 4 CE courses a year where we bring all the dentists together at like a room like this or a bar or a restaurant, bring on a few CE speakers. And then the last thing we do is we give them CE stipends. So each dentist gets $1,500. They could spend it however they want, and we reimburse them on the CE course, what they take.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mentorship for us, it really is, I believe, is always ever evolving because, one year that we hear there's a specific need for certain clinicians, another year maybe something else. Because I was actually having this conversation during lunch today with some other individuals. And a lot of the newer grads are coming out, they want to be able to, do these large surgeries, but, where do we begin? How do we partner them up with not only like-minded clinicians, but clinicians that can really take them from, what is step one? What is socket preservation? What is next step beyond that? But also throughout this, as we start looking at mentorship within the organization, is what can we do to set them up for success? Because a lot of the docs that come in, they may have aspirations of opening their own practice one day. And as much as I would love them and trying to keep them internally, I want to set them up for success. And because I've had some great mentors throughout the years, I've also had some bad mentors throughout the years, and I believe I've learned a ton from either. But one of the things that we always love to do, and right now I'm trying to do my best with some of these clinicians as we build out a lot of our mentorship programs, is really getting them opportunities to understand what they may not know. Not only from the clinical aspect, but also from the business aspect of, and you talk about insurance as well, is, when you go out and decide to open your own practice, you're not clocking in 8 to 5 anymore. You're 24/7, and they're really, everything and everybody looks at you at that point. And so, do our clinicians really want that? And so, as we start to look at that and start talking to them about that, and really cultivate an internal, kind of philosophy and vision of what we want to do as an organization, I believe it's not only clinical, but it's also that business mindset and also developing them as an individual within an organization as well.
Anybody else?
Something unique that we're doing in our model, all of our dentists are co-owners in the group, and so they own a majority of their practice, but they own part of everybody's practices, and so they're highly motivated to help one another out. We've built various communication platforms, channels where our doctors can talk to each other, and that's been phenomenal. To be able to ask a question and have 60 other doctors weigh in real time is fantastic. I think this is often way too lonely of a profession. I mean, we try with new associates to make sure they have a mentor. We do a lot of things. We have a culture council and various events, but just having that simple methodology when someone says, hey, what are you doing about X? Are you using Glywell? Do you use CEREC? What's the best tips? Can someone tell me to do implants better? And having a ton of people that are motivated and eager to help you out makes a huge difference in retention and overall happiness and success.
Excellent. Anything to add, or we good?
Yeah, there's not a lot to add. All of our young dentists spend a month with me.
Okay, there you go. That's mentorship.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go off script here again, but I think you guys probably can handle this. One of the criteria for emerging groups to watch award winners is being unique. And you can't say, well, we offer clinical autonomy to dentists. Well, you better, right? You should anyway. Because that's kind of what we hear a lot. So I would ask you to think about your uniqueness. I know, everybody seems to have, that's the thing. When you've heard this, right? I think it was Dr. Mark Cooper. When you've seen one DSO, you've seen one DSO. They're all a little bit different. So maybe talk a little bit about why you feel, you're unique. And Brad, why don't we start off with you?
I mean, we're all doing dentistry, right? So, I think the only thing that differentiates us is that we are a media company that happens to do dentistry.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, we all do dentistry, but I think there are lots of ways to distinguish yourselves. So we have 3 things that sets us apart. Number 1, we're always a minority partner in the practice. We firmly believe dentists need to be the owners of their practices. And so I feel like every group out there, the first thing on their website is autonomy. And I always say it's autonomy with an asterisk, because it's autonomy until your owner doesn't agree with you. And we don't do that because we're minority partners. Number 2, we don't have private equity backing. And people can distinguish as family office, private equity. It's all private equity. Our investors are our dentists, so we go where they want to go, and we think that's super unique. The third is we wrote it into our bylaws from the day we started the company that the company is never to be sold. And that is a big, big change. When we partner with the practice, we're doing this for the next 100 years. We want dentists to sell to dentists. This is not meant to be some big corporate takeover of dentistry, and we firmly believe that this is the generation of dentists that are going to sell out their entire industry. And we don't want that to happen. And so we're trying really hard to do something very unique that motivates the dentist and still brings them the scale they need to be successful, because dentistry is hard, labor is hard, costs are hard. There's a lot to figure out. But we're trying to do something that's very, very different for the industry and to provide an alternative, because I want the dentists coming out of school today to say, I want to be an owner. And I want to be an owner for the next 30, 40 years of my career, because a lot of the upside actually comes from those profits, and it comes from being able to run a clinic the way that I want to. And we feel like that really distinguishes us in the marketplace.
Dr. Mann, I know one thing before you. I want to hear about how the med spa aligns with your model, because that's kind of unique that you have a med spa. But go ahead, talk about your uniqueness. That seems to me to be pretty unique.
Oh, well, you've answered the question then. So, med spa. No. But, one of the things, we're completely self-funded. And when we start looking at our docs is, how can we get them involved? What is a pathway to partnership? How can I get them to have some buy-in? And where is their participation? And so that creates, of course, a uniqueness amongst a lot of other organizations and DSOs. And also, as we start looking at that, where are the clinically led boards at? Who are the ones on the boards to be able to have some clinical mindset in order to say, hey, you know what, I can save 2% here, but what does it impact the bottom line? How does it impact the patient? And what is remakes at that point, when you're changing everything because of a change in a process or a change in a formulary. And so, but, I guess to add to, Bill's comment, yes, we do have a med spa in one of our locations, our largest location. And so, it's one of the things that we always like to have some synergies between dental and med spa as well. And back when I actually started doing Botox for pain therapy, it was amazing of how many team members all of a sudden started having pain around all their faces and started saying, hey, can you take care of my pain? And it started migrating everywhere then. But that was one of the value adds early on was, I was the one doing all that for the teams, and I felt like we were going around that. But it's such a small part of what we offer as an organization. But really the biggest thing for us is the pathway to partnership for a lot of our docs, to be able to have some skin in the game and be able to have some decision-making opportunities as well with myself.
Excellent.
We're really different, self-funded, no front desk staff, no phones in the offices. We don't have any KPIs. I know that's going to bother a lot of you, but we don't. I don't believe in that. We have no production goals in any of the practices. So I track just a couple. My KPIs are two things: patient satisfaction and employee happiness. My philosophy is, if the patients are happy, the employees are happy, and you don't have turnover, the money will come. Since I don't have to really answer to a PE or a bank or anybody, my goal is just to build the best brand, kind of Brad's competition there. But I'm doing things differently. I've always thought about thinking outside of the box, and it seems to be working really well. We're 100% centralized, and I don't even have a C-suite of people. It's me and Jackie, and we rely a lot on technology and culture.
Great.
It's really impressive. We met a couple of months ago, and I said I want to come visit and see that.
Come to Chicago.
I really do, really do.
Different.
Yeah, it's very different. This may not appear to be differentiated and unique in the industry, but for oral surgery, it is. So we're surgeon-founded, surgeon-led, and geographically really concentrated. So we believe in the power of proximity and supporting our practices. We have boots on the ground in every single market, multiple boots, clinical support, operations support, relationship management support for the general dentist community. And that's a differentiated model. We don't believe that we can support from arm's length or afar. We need to be there at moment's notice to support the oral surgeons to enable them to do what they do best. And I believe that sets us apart.
Excellent. All right. We're just a little bit, right around halfway through, and I'm going to jump to kind of the last half of our questions because sometimes we don't get through everything that I'd like to get through. But there are a lot of vendors here, partners, and we appreciate you actually sponsoring this meeting. Without you, of course, you wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm going to ask a vendor or partnership question, and you can talk a little bit about, I think, the relationship that you'd like to see from. Let's talk about the best relationships you have with your vendors or partners and why you think they're so successful. What are those vendors or partners doing that makes that so successful, and maybe what can some of the vendors here in the audience learn from those relationships? Why don't we start in the middle with you, Dr. Mann?
Yes, I really think communication, transparency, honesty, and bi-directional accountability for us is what I look for, because as we start looking at current vendors and looking at formulary and trying to identify what's the next best thing, what can we bring to our team to be able to set them up for success, and being able to have a great vendor to be able to have that communication with and saying, hey, look at this area, this is maybe a great opportunity, but also especially partnering with them to be able to bring some continuing education for the docs, because as for me, myself, if I am out there practicing dentistry and you start saying, hey, I'm going to change this formulary, without that education, without that support, without that visibility of saying, this is what the benefits are, and putting it in my hands to give me an opportunity to kind of judge how that works in my hand. And that's really the support that I would need from that vendor to be able to say, hey, this is the good, bad, and uglies that I see with this product, or this is the good, bad, and uglies that I see through support. Because it's one thing about creating or delivering a product for a team, but what is that constant support? How can I engage that vendor with constant continuing education, not only for my docs, but also for the clinical team as well, to understand the importance of these? And so it really comes down to the communication, the accountability, and the collaboration of just trying to get to a common core value of what we want to deliver for our patients.
Great. Maybe I'll make this a two-parter too. Are there any, so you can finish the second part to this and then everybody else can go. Is there anything that vendors do that really piss you off?
The exact opposite of what I just said.
That's easy.
But no, absolutely. It's the sales pitch. It's the opportunity saying, hey, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. We start looking, engaging, and then the support dies off after that. And then once we have invested, made some type of capital investment, and it's like literally pulling teeth of saying, hey, you know what, we're starting to see numbers trending a certain way. How can we get some support? Oh, well, I'll have to work with some, individuals in our market and see if I can do this to be able to curve a certain behavior. Can we get some visibility to what you're seeing? What's training looking like? And it's just everybody pointing fingers at that point. So it's to be able to not only be accountable, but also to be able to move the needle throughout that process.
Accelerate.
I think a lot of times vendors think of the sale as the end, and it's really the beginning. And I think they're like, oh, great, now you're on a one-year contract or whatever it is, so we don't need to hang out anymore because I just needed to sell you, right? We love it when vendors act like extensions of the team and are there to partner with us and support us. I don't know if Mango's here, but I'll shout out Mango. We had an issue a couple weeks ago, and I was on the phone with the CEO. I instantly had people from the team plugged in with our team. We troubleshooted an issue, and it got resolved in a couple of hours instead of a couple of days. And that's the kind of connectivity we want to feel with our vendors. We want to feel like they're an extension of the team, that they're bought into our success, that they really care about where we're going. And then we can actually collaborate, right? And especially, there are so many software solutions. I mean, I was talking with a friend here about the 20 different AI voice assistants that we have. So part of it's when we have vendors that are also really trying to take our feedback and adapt their solutions to be fantastic for the future. That also is something that really builds that relationship with us as well.
Excellent. How about a vision?
Yeah, let me tell you a story. So 3 weeks ago in my office. So we're doing $3 million out of 4 chairs. On a Tuesday morning, one of my ops, the electric handpiece, was acting kind of funky. So we called, I'm not calling out Henry Schein, I'm just saying if any of you work for Henry Schein, my apologies. However, Schein rep comes out, says, I'm gonna get back to you with a quote on that. Cool. So Thursday rolls around, things done. Actually Wednesday morning, thing is kaput. So I had 2 days, no op. We had to call them multiple times, finally got it taken care of. I never got a single phone call from a regional manager, which we did call them. And still to this day, 3 weeks later, I never heard anything. I don't care about price. It's just relationship. And the relationship is just when we need you, just be there. That's it. That is literally the only thing that matters. Everything else is like pretty simple. So it's not really price. It's just do what you say you're gonna do and just take action on that. It's pretty simple.
All right. How about you, Mark?
So with most of our vendors, we tell them we don't want a product. We want a turnkey solution. Come to us with something that's in a box with a bow tied around it that our team can open up and end to end make it as easy to integrate, as easy to use, as easy to train in as possible. And that's really important, whether it's innovation or whether it's a service that they're providing, make it easy. Think about how busy we are, how busy our teams are taking care of patients each and every day. So whatever you bring to us, and our friends from CareStream are in the back, and we're working together to partner to work on a enterprise-wide EMR solution. It needs to come out of the box, and it needs to be amazingly easy for us to teach and train our teams. Gone are the days when we can invest the type of time and effort and energy to kind of build on the fly programs to integrate products into our practices.
Excellent. Dr. Patel?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of vendors. I try to, I don't have an MBA, but I try to keep it stupid simple. I learned something a while ago, but I try to just focus with 3 or 4 vendors. I set expectations on the front end. I'll give a shout out. We're giving shout outs. Mango's awesome. Glidewell is amazing. Gerlene's here from Glidewell. For me, to have access to the leadership team that's a vendor is really important, because that's when, I don't want to have to call the salesperson, wait for the salesperson's call back, and then, they have to take it up the channel to have a decision made. So for me, it's really important that I have direct access to the C-suite. And if I'm going to work with someone, then that's my ask, if I'm paying you X amount of dollars a month. So I work with minimal vendors, but the ones we work with are top notch. And the thing I hate the most about vendors is contracts. I won't sign a contract. If you're really good, you don't need to lock us into these 12-month contracts, because your service and your product should speak for itself, where people like us are bragging about you at these conferences.
I see a lot of head shaking on that one, so positively. You don't like contracts, okay. Well, good, thank you. I'm glad we got that in. Little tough love out there, but that's okay. All right, let's talk a little bit about growth and scaling. We've got a lot of groups out there that may be thinking of adding a practice or 2 or 3. Or maybe they're actually going, gosh, maybe I should sell one of them off, right? That was a conversation we had earlier today, one of the sessions. But maybe talk about the biggest challenge in scaling your organization right now. Like, what's something that you're kind of struggling with? And, well, let's start with you, Mark.
Sure. I'll speak just for a second to Guardian Dentistry Partners. So rewind the clock 5 years. And we had, I think when we started, when we had the emerging groups to watch ward back then, I think we had maybe 20 practices, and we scaled from 20 to 165 in about 3 years. So the challenge of accelerating and scaling in that way applies also to oral surgery, today, in terms of the same exact challenge, which is how do you passionately support and serve the practitioners with a model that scales, but make it such that it's custom to them, because you can't develop just a one-size cookie-cutter solution to everything, or you're going to lose your practitioners, right? They don't want to be a part of an organization that feels, somebody said, corporate, the definition of corporate. How do you do that? How do you make them feel like they are important? Because they are. How do you feel like the solution that you have for them is a partnership? And that's the hardest thing with scaling. It's that balancing act, but it has to be scalable. Right? Unless you just want to stay of a certain size, which is fine too. You don't have to grow, to be a larger organization. And someone said it earlier, which is really think about that. Are you happy with the size that you are? Is it delivering the life for you and your team members and your practitioners that you want? If so, that might not be a bad thing, right? But if you do want to grow and scale and be able to have positive change and impact on the industry, then how do you create that balance? And how do you make sure that your solutions are not just a one-size-fits-all? It's hard work.
Any other scaling challenges right now that anybody wants to share?
So when I started Smile Obsession, my whole goal was to be anti-corporate. So I was like, I'll have one owner, one brand, one bank account, one tax ID number. And I got it up to 18 locations, and it bothers me immensely that I hear from employees, vendors, patients, that, look at this corporate chain taking over Chicago. And so, it sucks, and I don't know how to fix that stigma that's out there in the world, because, I don't have a C-suite team. We don't have KPIs. We don't have production. We're the opposite of corporate, right? I don't even care if the office loses money. My goal is just happiness, Hakuna Matata, right? So that's my challenge is, how do we get the corporate out of the brand now?
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Right to that point. So I've worked for two companies that have been on Fortune's top 100 companies to work for. One has tens of thousands of team members. The other has hundreds of thousands of team members. Both of them incredibly wonderful, amazing cultures. But it's relentless communication of exactly what you just said. The phrase you just said gave me chills, right? Which is, I just want to deliver happiness. You said it better than I just rephrased it. But those organizations that I work for, every moment of every single day are reinforcing that message and living by it. And we're able to grow and scale and fight off the stigma of, that's just some big corporate chain. But it was built into the fabric of every decision that they made, every conversation that they had, every meeting that started. The expression of gratitude is how all the conversations started, every single meeting, every conversation about any topic.
Yeah, so really where I see it is we want to scale, but sometimes we just have to take a step back, take a breath, and make sure that everybody knows what our common goals are. We talk about onboarding processes as opposed to dropping people in certain job responsibilities and say, hey, you check this box and you can go. How can we get everybody together to be able to understand the same goal and to understand the same expectations on deliverables? I heard earlier on a panel that what's the difference between having this $3 million office, this $1.2 million office, and someone that's below. It's really around consistency. It's really around expectations. It's really around making sure that they all understand and get kind of put in front of an opportunity to be able to be trained, but also understand what their goals are and how do we measure that, and giving them the opportunity for further education to get to that level of expectation. And so it's really around building the processes for us, taking a step back and just saying, do we have that common core values? Does everybody know in the organization what our goals are? And if they don't, I think we have an opportunity to, pause, time out, and go and reinforce that. And what does that do as far as accountability and auditing every so often is just making sure that, it's not, we're putting goals out there, we check a box, they've trained on it, but is it resonating? Is it being, held accountable from their managers down to the team members? And is it repeatable? Is it scalable? And when we're looking at that, saying, when we go back into an office, 30, 60, 90 days after that, are they still doing that same process, or is it just kind of set it and forget it? We checked the box, we got trained on it, but we're going to go back to our own ways. And that's where I really see that value of making sure that they understand what our common core values are and be able to achieve that on a scalable fashion.
And Dr. Mann, I think I heard this afternoon you scaled up a little bit. Is it official? Am I allowed to talk about it? Or
It's official.
are you allowed to talk about it? Okay, so why don't you talk about it?
Yes, no, we, as of, Phil, 2 hours ago, somewhere, we just, we closed on 2 other locations. There were about 18, 19 ops each, and so we were super happy, super proud of our team working tremendously hard throughout this week, and I was hoping to be able to get the news before this panel discussion, so that way I can take a deep breath, so I'm not worried about some DocuSign in my inbox, and I'm the one up here holding everything back and holding everything behind for the rest of the team back in Georgia. And so,
Congratulations.
yeah, so it's official.
Mike.
Yeah, awesome. Well done. It's a tricky problem, and everyone faces it, whatever size you are. We've almost, I mean, we're adding more than a practice a month, and you know, you get to a point where you have more practices that have been with us less than a year than have been with us, you know, for any length of time. And I always like to say more people equals more problems, always, right? It's just, there's stuff that has to be done. I think obviously systems are really helpful, whether that's financial systems, onboarding systems, finding consistency. You know, we try really hard to identify where things break, because they always are breaking, and the trick is it's okay for something to break once, let's just not make it break again. So when we find a weakness in the process, let's fix it so that the next time around we don't have the same weakness. But I think a couple of you brought this up, and it's spot on. Ultimately, the culture is what reinforces it, either for bad or for good. One of our cultural values is what we call deliver awesome, and it just means that we give and empower everybody to deliver awesome. Like whatever that is and whatever situation you're in, we expect that that's going to be the marching orders, and we find that hopefully unlocking people to feel like they can do whatever needs to be done helps, because otherwise you could just get buried by the amount of work that has to be done.
Excellent. And Dr. Patel, you know, kind of mentioned, you know, the happiness side of it, and I think with Vision Dental, we see that through your social media, and I think we actually, you know, you do a great job of articulating your culture through the media company arm of your DSO, your dental group. So talk a little bit about some of the challenges you might have with scaling up.
You know, as much as we talk about that, which is culture, in which you said something, Viren, earlier, by the way, that we were competing for brand. We're not. You're kicking my ass. You got like 18 practices, bro. So, but it's, you know, there's, you know, you look at the acquisition. I mean, if we just go the growth of acquisitions, like locations, it's expensive. These big DSOs are, like the multiples they're throwing out are really big. So for somebody like us to compete in that world, like we've just shifted our model. We're not going to go compete against MB2 and some of these, Imagine, and some of these other groups that are. So I think we just you know, we want partner doctors. So I want partners who have Class A equity shares. So we're either going to do rollover deals, or we're now more in the game of like, let's go find the $600,000 practices where those doctors want to walk away, and I'm going to go recruit through culture and content doctors that align with that and align with our core values and align with who we are and what we're all about. And now we can put them into these practices, and we're going to go triple and quadruple those practices with partner doctors, as opposed to paying these, I mean, what I think are just outlandish multiples.
Yeah, this is a great topic here. You know, again, let's go off script, because I'd love to get feedback from everybody here as far as the strategy, because that is a great strategy, right? You've got, you know, you know, whatever the avatar is of like the ideal practice for a DSO. I don't know if it's $1.5 million plus in revenue and 8 ops, and the doc's going to stay on for 5 years. And you know, there's this, you know, we have this minimum. Is it a better strategy to kind of look at maybe the practices that are under that you see opportunity, that you can plug somebody in that everybody and their brother is not bidding on? And so it sounds like that's something that Vision is doing. Anybody else kind of looking at that strategy? Yeah?
a little bit?
Yeah, so you know, for me, it's 6 ops or more, population density. I stopped, you know, I learned a long time ago, you buy a $2 million practice, it's really tough to take a $2 million practice to $4 million, but you're gonna pay $2.3 million for it. But it's really easy to take a $600,000 practice to $2 million, and you're only gonna pay $450,000 for it, right? For us to get to the 18 locations, you know, I probably did about 25 deals, but out of those 18, 10 of them are de novos. And then the other ones I just tucked in, rolled up and all that. And so for us, going forward, I'm a really big believer of de novos because I've got them down to sub $300,000. And we launched 3 this year, and we turned them into $1 million practices within 6 months, and we spent less than 300 grand on them. So, you know, that's what we learned along the way. Stop chasing these $1 million practices that the DSOs are paying big multiples for, because they need the EBITDA, right? But, you know, guys like us, Brad, we don't need it. So we'd rather buy something low and get it going high and really quadruple our money in a year.
And that's what's fun, building.
Yeah, building it. It's a lot of fun.
Building is fun.
And Mike, at Accelerate, your strategy is a little bit different. So talk about your value prop.
I mean, we've done 600K practices, $4 million practices, rural practices, urban practices. We actually don't care. We care that you want to be a dentist and you want to drive something. We actually tend to find dentists that hate DSOs, and that's why they end up loving us. Honestly, for us, it's just been every single practice, save one, has been word of mouth. So you build a great organization, you're going to find there are no shortage of practices, 200,000 dental practices out there. So we just feel like it's always better if a dentist goes and tells their friend to join than a corporate person any day of the week. And so that's kind of been our strategy.
So Dr. Mann, I mean, this deal that you just did, were there a lot of bidders out there? Like, tell us what you can tell us about that.
Well, what I can say, there were opportunities out there, but it just never came to fruition, because it's kind of like when I was looking at a partnership for me is, you know, what does that partnership look like? What are the constraints on the deal? What are the opportunities post-close? What changes, what doesn't change? And I think that one of the main reasons that this deal never closed before us, and this was coming from the doc, is just wanted that true partnership, that clinically led organization that I can talk to the people that actually make the decisions. There's not this massive board investment banker above it that's, you know, orchestrating the decision. And so we are the decision makers, and so we are the people that are putting up the money as well. And so from that standpoint, that's what I saw, and that's, you know, part of our strategy as well is to, you know, we'd love to, you know, build the practices, you know, put the blood, sweat, and tears in them. But we also want to see, you know, practices that we can at least put 2 docs in. Because, you know, they would like to take a vacation every so often. And so, you know, I have yet to find the doc that wants to work, you know, 7 days a week. We don't work 7 days a week. But still, you know, people get sick. People want to take vacation. And we want them to have some type of balance in their life to be able to spend time for our family. Because, you know, our organization is a family-built organization, and we want to put our teams first. And so if that means that they want to go to a graduation, they want to go to you know, see their sister's, you know, baby being born. You know, we understand, and we want to have some compassion for our team and our docs as well. And so the only way that we can do that is to make sure that we have systems in place to be able to make sure the patients are taken care of throughout that process. And so that's one of our goals in every opportunity, is to try to get at least 2 docs in the practice, or at least having some type of coverage between locations.
And Mark, in the oral surgery market, what does M&A look like, and is there a lot of competition there? And, you know, what's some of the opportunity you see?
Same exact challenges that folks have talked about. It's no different in oral surgery. And at Max, we believe in both of the success models that folks have just mentioned. One, we call it the Aquinovo model, which is we'll acquire a practice with maybe a retiring surgeon, and we do have to start over again, but that practice is going to trade for a lower valuation. We know we can recruit pretty well based on our culture and we can put in a younger practitioner and grow that. That works really well. And then on the flip side, successful practices. We've found that we can partner with them without necessarily writing the biggest check, because the competition is just as severe. But we're okay saying we may not be the biggest check, but this is what your future will look like if you partner with Max, versus you're welcome, and we wish you luck if you decide to go the other path, where it may look a little different, what your day-to-day life will be like if you plan on staying on. And we've been very fortunate. We've had good success with that.
You're pretty hyper regionally focused right now, right?
Yes.
So do you think that helps out?
For sure, because it's interesting, we just acquired and announced probably one of the most successful practices in Manhattan. And the doctors in Manhattan, we didn't write the biggest check, they were offered bigger checks, and they know all of our practitioners and have relationships with them. We also, knock on wood, we'll be able to announce soon another pretty prominent practice that's coming on board that everybody knows in the area, and they sent a note and said, hey, we just signed the LOI. They sent it to one of our other doctors because I trust you, and if you trusted them, then right through the transitive property, I trust Max.
Excellent.
Yep.
We're about 10 minutes left, so maybe get to 2 more questions, at least 1 more. So let's talk a little bit about, somebody mentioned it, I think it was you, Mike, about all the AI solutions that exist out there, and I think there is a lot of technology and AI overload. So vendors, I hope you can kind of understand that all these groups up here probably are inundated with solutions. I'd love to hear your strategies and how do you kind of understand and cut through the clutter that's out there and find solutions that work for you, whether it's diagnostic AI, conversational AI, whether it's just looking for a different PMS solution. I know you're challenged in oral surgery with that because there really aren't any practice management solutions that scale in oral surgery, which is really interesting. Just learned that today. But just maybe any tips for people in the audience that are really just trying to figure out, how do I know some of these solutions can help me. How do I evaluate them, and how do I implement them? And if you want to share some success stories with companies, you can. You don't have to. But Brad, why don't we start with you?
So it was a good question. AI. I mean, we use Overjet. It's nice. It works. It's great for patients. I don't know if it's game changing, but I mean, outside of that, we're not. I think we talked about this on the webinar, right? We're not jumping on anything too quick. There's no one thing that's just changing the entire landscape. So, I mean, I think it's, for me at least, it's kind of wait and see and wait until those 1 or 2 things do pop, and then we'll jump on board.
These events are actually really helpful. I find when I network, and I've got friends here in the crowd that I've asked on certain software solutions, hey, I'll go to 3 or 4 of my buddies that are running groups. What are you using? I'll build a list. We'll go through all of them. We'll build our sheet of requirements, and then hopefully pick 1 or 2 to test. We're really big on data before, data after. Did it actually work? Is there actually an ROI? And if we see that, we'll recommend it to our doctors. The trick is just really hard. I'll use the AI receptionist. I mean, at least 10 that have written me in the last 2 weeks. I was at another show a couple weeks ago, and a bunch were demonstrating there. And it's tricky because they all say the same thing, and it's just really hard to sort out who's going to be there. Some of it's also waiting and seeing. I think when you look at an Overjet or a Pearl or a Vidya, I mean, these are proven solutions that are pretty good. It's nice when you have 3 really good solutions as opposed to the AI thing on receptionist. I feel like there's 30, so that's a lot to try. So I definitely think learning from others is also really helpful.
Yeah, and I guess from my standpoint, absolutely, there's a ton of AI out there, and even our home base is out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I actually worked for a dentist that their brother developed an AI program, and I literally got a call probably a couple months ago asking, how can I get in? What can I do? And I mean, he's made a lot of headway. But for us, it's fairly easy just because we're trying to, our practice management software for Ascend that we use, and we're trying to get everybody on that same software in our organization so that they have the same source of truth. So if they don't play well with Ascend, I can't use them. So as much as the noise that comes out, that's usually right now our screening tool is just to say, you know what, if we have an approved vendor, then I can really look at that, because if it's not, there's no way for us to implement it on a scalable fashion to have that one source of truth.
Excellent.
I mean, we all know there's a shit ton of AI out there, right? So for me, again, I'll go back to Glidewell. Jim Glidewell built the world's largest lab being vertically integrated. So for us at Smile Obsession, I like to own everything and not have to rely on outside vendors or software. So for example, we have no front desk staff, right? So we own the tech where the patients check in our clinics. So for me, I like to become a subject matter expert in AI. Talk to the AI people that we're thinking about rolling out with, and not sign contracts. But ultimately, my goal is just to own all the tech in the company, so I can be vertically integrated and not have to rely on making monthly payments in perpetuity to these companies that just keep raising their prices or lock us into contracts. So I'm all about owning it, building it, because there's a lot of people out there that, if you give them some money, they'll build you what you want.
Go ahead. You were just talking about that. Somebody building you something that you need.
We were. In the words of the great Jedi Master Yoda, do or do not, there is no try, right? Just do something, just pick a path. Or the Rush lyric, I think it's, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
I like it.
Just make a choice.
You're touring next year, by the way.
They are, in September in Cleveland. Bill and I are going. Just pick a path. You're going to be overwhelmed with the number and the speed of organizations that are offering you a solution. Do a little bit of homework, do your research, figure out what you want to do, pick a path, learn, move forward. Even if the path is to vertically integrate and develop yourself, pick a path. Don't get left behind, because that will be probably the biggest kiss of death if you get left behind, and if your organization doesn't keep pace and isn't as efficient or as effective.
There's a couple of things that I heard today. I heard Florian from Vidya Health. What did he say that we thought was interesting? He said that this is the worst AI you'll ever use, so it's going to continue to get better and better and better. And I think the other thing that we're going to see, and Dr. Patel, you talked about this, like you're going to be you're a subject matter expert, and I think we are going to get to a point where you're going to need to have someone at your group that is going to be fluent in technology and AI. The Chow, right, the Chief AI Officer. Maybe it won't necessarily be that title, but somebody that really can help you cut through the clutter and help determine what's valuable for your group and what isn't. And it's just, there's just so much opportunity out there, and you could spend your entire, workday just trying to figure out a solution that may help. And then, of course, in 3 months, it's going to change, right? Because it continues to evolve so quickly. So it's a big challenge. We've got a couple of minutes left here. So maybe I'll just let everybody just do some final thoughts, just some, words of wisdom before we let everybody get off to go to the bar and have a drink and celebrate with the emerging groups, the watch winners. So Mark, we'll start off with you and we just go down the line and just final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Thank you, everybody.
Final thoughts. Oh, goodness, Bill. Put me on the spot. How about be courageous. Don't be afraid. Take action. Have courage in the convictions. Whatever it is that you're doing, just be great at it. Be confident at it. Whatever model that you're building, whatever you're pursuing and following, believe in yourselves. Be committed to it, and just be great.
Mine's Hakuna Matata. There's no point going through life or building a company and having stress. Have fun, have purpose, but the stress is not worth it. So for me, it's means no worries.
That's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like everybody's been saying, is pick a path. There's so many different paths to be successful, but just know what that value for you and your organization is, and make sure that teams align with it as well. and make sure that you set them up for success, and also be able to have opportunities to communicate no matter what level they're at. Because whether they're a sterile tech or assistant, they're the ones that move the needle for your organization. And just make sure that you have those opportunities to do those check-ins. But do not lose focus. Do not lose your North Star, and make sure that you hold true to that no matter what decision you decide to do. But also, as we were talking about earlier with our group, is when you decide to do something, if you fail at it, fail fast, fail forward, and move on, and it's okay.
That's great. I'd say, in a similar line, success is largely a matter of hanging on longer than everybody else. And I feel like the dental industry has enormous potential. There are very few industries where the so-called number one player in our space is still less than 1%. So it's a highly fragmented space. There's tons of ideas, tons of ways to be successful. So I think it's just a great time to be in dentistry and really enjoy where this industry is going for the future.
I'm the last one for the whole event.
You are? 30 seconds.
All right.
Make it good.
I got two things. Number one, I would say to piggyback on what Viren said, which I've done that a couple of times today. I feel like we're
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of, just do business with people that you like and are good people. Because I've screwed that up a couple times, and I promise you, you want to do good business with good people. And to finish this event, go Hoosiers.
Look at that, perfect. That's funny. Well, thank you, everybody.
I'm a Hoosier.
Appreciate it. Great job, guys.